Let's go ahead and get started. So hello everyone, thank you for joining us this evening. Welcome to tonight's session of Ready for Pre-K, Raising Capable Kids, Helping Your Toddler Learn Independence. My name is Drew and I'm with the Early Childhood Division here at DCPS. I'm also the proud parent of a DCPS pre-K student. And before we get started, we do have a couple of housekeeping items to go over with the group this evening. We're using Microsoft Teams to host tonight's session. You'll notice that right now all of the participants are currently muted and don't have the camera setting as an option. That's because these sessions are recorded and we post them on YouTube afterwards, so we don't want to capture any embarrassing mishaps or anything that might happen if cameras were on. However, there are points during the session tonight where we'll invite you to unmute to ask questions, to share advice with other families that might be on, or to offer an anecdote. So please do feel free to unmute at any time. If it seems like maybe you accidentally unmuted, our moderator might mute you, but feel free to enter things into the chat all session long. And at the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A where we will take your questions. All right, and for our community agreements, we like to start each of our Ready for Pre-K sessions off with some general community agreements for our time together. We're committed to making sure that this is a forum where everyone feels welcome, respected, and comfortable. So as you join us tonight, please enter, with open minds, be kind, be patient, be open. All right, and so tonight we have three experts from the field of early childhood joining us this evening. I'm so excited to have these three folks with us tonight. Let's take a moment to do some introductions and then we'll go ahead and get started. Nick, would you mind to introduce yourself and start us off?
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicola McKenzie. I go by Nick. Currently, I'm an ECE instructional specialist for DCPS. However, I've been in the field of early childhood for 20 years, and 10 of those years I was a pre-K 4 teacher. So I'm excited to be here today. And now I'm going to hand off to Mr. K.
Thank you, Nick. I'm Mr. K, or Mr. Keenley. I'm in my third year teaching at Randall Highlands Elementary School at DCPS. Prior to being with DCPS, I still was in early childhood working as a fitness instructor with young children, and then I spent 8 years at the Smithsonian Early Enrichment Center as a lead pre-K teacher there.
Welcome, Justine.
Hi, I'm Justine Colson. I'm an occupational therapist by training, and I evaluate and treat children through Strong Start, the early intervention program in DC. I also have 2 children pre-K that are in a community-based center, but will be transitioning to DCPS. So excited to be a DCPS parent.
Absolutely. So you guys are all in good company. At this time last year, when I was thinking about my own daughter transitioning into pre-K 3, I just was so anxious about how independent she needed to be and trying to figure out how to get her prepared. And so once I started talking to other parents, I realized that a lot of us have the same concern, and thus this session was created. So we hope you find it helpful. And I'm going to pass it over to Nick to get us started. All right.
Okay, sure. Thank you, thank you, Drew. So one of the areas that parents seem to wonder about the most is independence. So some questions that keep coming up: how independent should my child be? What should my child be able to do on their own? And what will children be expected to do in pre-K? So these are such important questions to consider. So the truth is, there are no easy answers to these questions. Every child and every family is different. So expectations around independence and what children should be able to do by themselves really depends individually on your child and your child's development, which are shaped by culture and experience. So let's unpack that a little bit more. So at DCPS, we have preschoolers joining us from a wide range of countries, from different places in the United States, and from a wide variety of experience as well. So when we're talking about culture, we're not just talking about where a person might be from. We're also talking about a family's culture and a culture in a household. And every family has a unique culture and a unique experience. So some children have had the opportunity to have attended a daycare center or a childcare center, which is in a group setting. Other children have been at home with a nanny. Some children have been taken care of by relatives. So entering this school environment is going to be very foreign to them because they've always been taken care of by someone that they're very familiar with. But just holding in mind that, each experience is unique and each experience is different, and that's okay. So our ideas and our beliefs around children's independence is really closely tied to our own cultural beliefs and our own individual family experiences. And honestly, these differences are what makes us unique and connect us to our communities. So our goal tonight is to give you some information and some insight about the culture and experience in our pre-K classrooms and how teachers promote young children's independence. Knowing this can really help families prepare their children for the transition into school. Having some preparation beforehand can help children feel really confident and comfortable in their new learning environment, both of which can help support children's success in pre-K and beyond. So at DCPS, we believe that all children are capable and competent learners. We believe that preschool not only provides young children with this strong foundation of language and literacy and math and social emotional development, but it also provides children with the opportunity to grow their confidence and self-esteem and independence. We know that children are born eager to assert their independence, and we can see this as young as infancy. So imagine your child doing tummy time and there's a object in front of them and they're just reaching out to get that object. That is children becoming more aware of their independence. That's children wanting to become more mobile so they can reach for that toy. And we all know that toddlers are experts in, first of all, wanting to do things for themselves, and second of all, asserting their opinions. So they're really eager to be big helpers, and they love being involved in the tasks that you may be doing. So for instance, they may want to turn the faucet on and off. They may run in front of you and press the elevator button. They may even get a chair and climb up to reach something on the counter. Children are naturally inclined to be independent and to have a strong sense of self. And it's our job to help children to become capable adults that can take care of themselves. But of course, it's not easy. If children are so naturally inclined to do things for themselves and they're eager to become more capable and more independent, and we know as caregivers it's our job to support that process, then why is it so hard? Helping children, to learn to do things for themselves can be hard for many reasons. For some of us, it may feel like what you're about to see in this video. So as you watch, please add to the chat anything that you see that resonates with you or anything that looks all too familiar. So, so watching that video just might make you want to say, just let me do it, right? Does that resonate with anyone? Just let me do it. Yeah, so much soap. I know, so much soap. um, and, and in order to avoid the trouble, it's easier for us to just step in. But it's really important that we start supporting your child's independence and encouraging them to do things on their own. And I know that this is really hard. I'm not saying that this is an easy feat at all. The challenges for every child and every caregiver is very unique and very different. So as we're going through the presentation, just take a moment to reflect on, what makes helping children to be more independent challenging for you. Please feel free to unmute and share, or you can drop it in the chat. I know that more than likely there are several reasons that this process may feel stressful and sometimes unsuccessful. So it might be easy as adults to think about the ways your child makes things challenging, but as adults, we are an important factor in it too. So we have to be very reflective and very honest on what we might be doing that makes this process difficult. So here are some factors to consider that might be getting in the way. The first factor that we're going to look at is time. And we never have enough time, right? So letting children learn to do things for themselves takes time. And if you're trying to get out the door in the morning, you are going to put their shoes on and brush their hair and brush their teeth because it's all about time. However, children need to have that opportunity to put their shoes on and to brush their teeth. So what you have to do on the front end is make sure you plan ahead. Give yourself an extra 10 to 15 minutes so that your child has the opportunity to practice that skill without feeling stressed. Another factor is patience. It takes a tremendous amount of patience for children or for adults to teach children how to do certain tasks. And children need to practice that task over and over again until they master it. And this can be frustrating for us as adults. So think about your child carrying a cup with water and it's going to spill. And that can be frustrating for you. But just knowing that ahead of time and allowing the child to carry that cup many times, there will be many spills, but eventually they will master that skill and they will feel very proud of themselves. And also take that opportunity to model how to mitigate the frustration, because as much as you're frustrated about your child spilling water or a beverage on the floor or on themselves, just remember they're feeling just as frustrated. So take that time to model how to deal with that frustration and move through it together. Again, we serve as important models for children. This third one here is a big one. So accepting imperfection. So allowing children to do things for themselves is an exercise, but it's about valuing the process versus the actual result. So it may not end up looking exactly how you intended it to look. And maybe they want to feed themselves and they get really messy. But you have to allow that opportunity and you have to be okay with things being a little messy. And no, perhaps their hairstyle did not turn out the way you anticipated, but it's okay. Children are not going to do things the way we would like them to do it the first time around. They need that time to practice. And in order for them to get better, practice makes perfect. So supporting them and motivating them is helpful. And it's more important focusing on the process and focusing in getting it right. Sometimes when we're thinking about ability, and children wanting to do things on their own, sometimes there can be what's called a mismatch between a child's ability and what we would like to see as a parent. So, for example, if a parent is ready for their child to be potty trained, but the child is not quite there developmentally, that's going to be a mismatch in ability. So maybe we are so eager for them to be potty trained, but they're not showing the signs yet. And that will tell you that they're not developmentally ready. So just being aware of that, because if there is a mismatch, it can cause some frustration when you are trying to teach a skill for both the parent and the child. So really be cognizant of your child's ability. This one, mood is super important. So just think about your own moods and what you need to be able to be successful. So sometimes children just aren't in the right mood. They're just not in the right state of mind to try something new or to do something that feels hard. And like I said, even as adults, we can feel overwhelmed and upset, and someone's trying to teach us a new skill. And I can probably guess that that doesn't go over so well. So remember, this can happen with children too. So it's really important that you are picking times where where you have patience, there's practice, your child is in a great mood, they're calm, you're calm, and I'm sure it will go a lot better. Making sure to introduce that new skill or expectation when things are optimal, when there are no tensions, and I promise it will go much, much better. So just being aware of your own mood and your child's mood will really be helpful in this process. This one I love. So love is something that we like to express for our little ones, right? So we want to do things for them to show that we love them. And sometimes those things can be, feeding our children or brushing their hair or carrying them around or perfectly tidying up their toys, because that is our way of showing affection, and that can bring us a great sense of satisfaction as parents and as caregivers. And one thing I do want you to know, we do not want you to walk away from this presentation thinking that you have to stop doing absolutely everything for your child and they need to just take this on by themselves. That is not what we're saying. What we are saying is just be aware of, are you showing affection? Or are you just doing something simply out of habit? So just raising your awareness around that a little bit. So, we have gone through a lot, and this is really hard work. So helping children to become independent and to learn to do things by themselves can feel like a tremendous amount of work, but honestly, it's worth it. So now I'm going to hand it over to Mr. K, and he's going to review some conditions for success.
Thank you, Nick. That was a great summary of some of the things we're talking about this evening. And, if you are going to set yourself up for success, there are some things that you can do that ultimately are expression of love. I really love how we ended up with that. One of the first things for conditions for success is establishing a predictable routine, knowing what your child's going to do each day. And you might be thinking, well, my day's not always predictable. How do I make a predictable routine? One thing that I find really helpful in a classroom is a visual schedule of what's going to be happening and making it a horizontal strategy. So like we have a little train that follows along what we're doing each day, and we have visuals for we're going to the bathroom right now, or it's time to read a book, or it's rest time, and all those things are interchangeable. So each day it might look a little different if we have a special event in the gym, or you're going to go visit grandma's, or you have to go shopping for a big sibling's shoes at Target. Your days are never predictable, but being able to allow them to know what's happening overall is really important for them, because once children are feeling predictable and know what's going to be happening, they feel much more safer and comfortable in their environment, and those are the conditions that are really going to open them up for learning. And that's going to be the same at home as it is at school. And you can do all of this by modeling and practicing together. As your children are 2, not even 3 yet, and you're thinking of them coming into a classroom setting, but you can talk about that with them and model what it is to do a routine, like a morning routine. We're going to wake up, brush our teeth, get dressed, and then have breakfast, and then go on our day. So maybe the visual schedule you have is just for a certain portion of your day that you're having struggle with, whether it's bedtime or a transition. There's also great books that you can do. Like you could get a book about getting dressed in the morning. In the classroom, my children love the Froggy Gets Dressed books. And you can also talk about what's appropriate for them to wear and things. So you're giving them the opportunity to maybe go and pick out a clothes. Might not be what you wanted, but as long as it's weather appropriate, then you can kind of go forward, and you can show them how you do that in the morning. Maybe get morning together, have that a time you spend together. And then, Nick sort of mentioned on this, when it comes to imperfection, it's not always going to go right. You definitely want to give space for the child to try it on their own. Even though, if they're spilling something, you want to offer them the chance to clean it up, knowing that you're probably going to have to clean it up and maybe like sanitize it when they're like doing something else or in the bathroom, but they at least know that they were helping to contribute. And if time is some sort of a space, I'm a big user of visual timers. I have a lot of like sand timers that I use in my classroom. So if you do know that you need to get out the door in 15 minutes, but you still want to offer your child that independence, you can say, well, how about you persevere and keep on trying to zip your zipper for a minute, and I'll let you do that on your own, and then I can come and help you. So you're sort of meeting them in the middle, and whatever that looks like and whatever tasks your child really wants to do. But you're always giving them some visuals that are going to help them. Another timer that is really good are these ones where you can set them, and you can get all this on Amazon or anywhere you go, and you can just sort of set a time, and this is going to help you. We have this much time to brush our teeth or get ready for bed or get dressed. All those things are great tools that you can do to help your child. And as you're introducing these things to your children, I think using great language, like you can persevere or be persistent. And then if they don't succeed, you can, reward their effort, say, good work trying and persevering. And when they do it, like have them say to themselves out loud, I persevered, I did it, and I make them shout things when they accomplish something, and use I am statements. So they're feeling really proud of themselves. And that sort of goes into that next bullet point of being patient and supportive. It takes buckets of patience. And, I always, try to remind myself, and this goes back into modeling, if you're feeling impatient, you can take a breath, and count to 4 or whatever strategies that you need to do. We love taking breaths in my classroom. We even have this little dice that we have that has like little animals, like a snake or a lion or a bumblebee, and they can take turns rolling it, and that's how they're going to breathe and calm down. So I know that as a teacher or as a parent, I want my child to take a breath and calm down. They might not know that that's my ulterior motive to them just having the choice to roll something fun and sort of get recentered. And that always, when they're doing something that's successful, goes that you want to give them that affirmation. And, you can visualize it and verbalize it to them, but also model the language and how they can say it to themselves. Like, and do that when you're doing, like, I'm proud I just zipped up my jacket, or I, sent birthday card to grandma on time and you helped me put on the stamp. I'm feeling proud of myself for doing that. And kids are going to pick up on all that language that their parents are saying and their teachers are saying and people in their community are saying. So always want to be making sure that you know what ears are around, and that you're giving them good affirmation for the efforts they're putting in. So we'll get into a little bit more of like what I just talked about as we get continuing presentations. So I look forward to hearing from you, and I'm glad to be here tonight. Oh yeah, and then we're going to go over some of the skills and some of the routines that you're going to be seeing in some pre-K classrooms here at DCPS as children are getting ready. And you can see some children right there in the picture getting ready for some mealtime right there.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. K. The skills on here are things that most 2- and 3-year-olds are working on. At least something that falls in one of these categories: self-care, mealtime, dressing, care for the environment, and problem solving. The expectations are heavily influenced by their developmental readiness, which goes along with what Nick was saying about them being ready, and then also the experiences they've had and the culture within your home. Some cultures prefer to be more hands-on with certain things. Just kind of depends what's working in your family. The skills that we're going to talk about today are things that we are often working on in pre-K. By knowing the classroom culture, what the expectations are, you can think about what you might need to help your child feel a little bit more prepared as by incorporating some of these things in your own home and in your daily routine. The important takeaway is that we want to create an environment for success. We want children to feel confident and empowered, to help them know that they can take on new challenges and new responsibilities, and that'll help them in the classroom and beyond. Through each skill, you'll notice that we've added some of those challenge icons that Nick talked about. So kind of think about which of the potential challenges might be getting in the way of success for you and your child, and then how best you can help them.
Yeah, so one thing that we do a lot of is, the self-care in the classroom. And it's very big this year with the pandemic going on. We're doing a lot of hand washing, hand sanitizing. We have masks that we're putting on our faces and constantly pulling up our noses, using a tissue and then replacing the mask, brushing our hair and teeth. And it's all opportunities for the children to try and do it on their own. I mentioned in the chat there's so much soap because I really related to that. In my classroom, we have a little press button dispenser for the foam soap, and our foreman always has to come in and refill it because the kids definitely do love getting that soap. But at the same time, they are getting that soap that is cleaning the germs that are on their hands, which is ultimately what we want for them to have a hygienic meal experience. Or, if they just had some finger paint or coming in from the playground after toileting, there's so many times that we're supposed to wash our hands. I know that DCPS has made available and the CDC, but again, it's great visuals. Like, we make hand washing a superhero activity. We make some germ fighting bubbles, so these are things you can get from the CDC that have superheroes and some kids with fighting hands. And like I always have the kids, make sure you get enough bubbles like the superheroes. And then you can also have visuals that go through the steps that you're going to have. And this is another one from the CDC. And it's just great because your 2-year-olds who aren't in school, some of them are not very verbal yet. So it's really good to have something that is visual for them to see and cue from. So that hand washing is a big tip. So, and I know there's some tips down on the screen, as you can see. Singing songs. This is the way we wash our hands, wash our hands. You can really make up a song to any beat. I'm doing it all the time if you ever spent 4 minutes in my classroom. Read stories, again, like the getting dressed part. There's many great books out there that talk about getting dressed. Post pictures of the steps like I showed you before. That same way with like the daily routines and schedules that you're doing. If you have a step, and if you're always on the go and you're like, well, my visual, another thing I do is I keep everything on a key ring and I carry it with me in my fanny pack, so I can always be showing. So if you're in the bathroom or you're at grandma's house where there isn't some of those normal like things that you set up your child for success, you have some of those things that are more portable. And having those materials within reach is really important. A stepping stool, maybe it's not the materials you're going to use to clean and wash your hands, but it's maybe the materials that your child is going to use. You just have a big pile of rags that are cleaned, and they have a hamper that they can throw those in when they have a spill, and then you can practice doing the laundry and then refolding them in a week after all those rags are done. And the best time, honestly, to be doing all these things and practicing is during play. You know, children love to play. They're going to play when they're washing their hands, and that's what we make it the superhero. You know, you're cleaning those germs, you're fighting those germs with those bubbles. If you're in a pretend kitchen at home, or even in a block center, you can build anything that you want and practice what it means to like clean it and make it sanitary for you. You know, if you have a doll or a favorite stuffed animal, making sure that their teeth are brushed before you go to bed, making sure your animal has brushed their teeth before they sit down at the table. And maybe even your child has an invisible friend, or they want to bring their stuffed animal to the table. I think that flexibility and patience, knowing that it's not going to look perfect. You know, why am I sitting here as a grown-up with a stuffed animal at my dinner table? But you know, it got your child to wash their hands. The stuffed animal's a little wet, it'll dry, and you can enjoy your dinner together. So yeah, I think we can go to the next slide. I think we're going to talk about self-care some more.
Okay. Mr. K, I love what you said about doing things within play. I had a meeting right before this where I was talking to a family about you can even help your child do strengthening activities by playing, and they don't know they're working out. So I love that.
Yeah, no. And a strong core helps them sit up. So
yep. So toileting, everyone's favorite and maybe most dreaded topic. One thing that's really important to know is that children do not need to be fully potty trained to enter pre-K. Some children aren't there yet developmentally, especially, you know, we have a lot of kids who turn 3 in August and then are starting a new school year. So just know they do not need to be there yet. That's okay. So also another thing that Nick mentioned was the abilities lining up with the desires. So you may notice that your child wants to be potty trained, they're showing interest, but developmentally they're just not there yet, or skill wise they're just not there yet, and that's okay. Even if they're not fully potty trained, there are different parts of the routine that they can participate in. Things like putting their own legs in their pants and then you're buttoning them for them. Pulling pants up and down, taking their pull-up off and putting it in the trash, washing their hands even after diaper change. So even if it's not after using the potty or the toilet, doing it after diaper change to practice that part of the routine. There are different ways to kind of set them up for success with this. Like Mr. K mentioned before, reading books, posting pictures, and different steps. You know, first we go pee-pee, then we wipe, then we, you know, lining up every step for them just so that they can learn the routine. Pictures are very helpful for a lot of children. One thing that is really important is just having it be predictable. So offering the toilet or the potty chair at specific times every day that you can be consistent with. Some families do it first thing in the morning after the child wakes up. Some do it right before bed. Some do it right after breakfast. Whatever you find works well in your family routine and is a time where you feel like you can remember it and be consistent about it is great. With it, try not to pressure them, because pressure makes it a lot harder. It makes their anxiety grow and little power struggles. So offer, and if they say no, okay, that's okay. We'll try again later. Like Mr. K said, with other, you know, with hand washing, brushing teeth, you can also help the dolls and the stuffed animals work on toileting, going through the routine with them. You can model yourself. This is a really awkward one because everyone wants their own privacy when it comes to toileting. Am I frozen? Okay, sorry. Everyone wants their privacy, but saying things like, I feel like I might need to pee, I'm going to go to the toilet. That can help them kind of see what it looks like in action. Older siblings can encourage. So talking about, oh yeah, I know how to go potty. I go in there and I sit on the toilet. Older siblings are great models for everything developmentally, toileting included. And then celebrate successes and effort. So not putting a lot of focus on accidents, because if we're putting focus on accidents, that can make them more anxious and to the point where they don't even want to try. They just want to wear a diaper. So praising their success, they're trying, oh, great job sitting there. I saw you sit on the toilet and try. Or, I mean, any part of the routine, no matter how little it might seem, just praising it so that they know that they're kind of working on it. And I did see a question pop up just now about using the toilet versus the potty seat. And actually, that probably just depends on your child's comfort level. Some children are okay using the toilet seat. It does make them feel a little bit more secure if there's a smaller seat on top of it, I think. And it also makes them feel more secure if their feet are on something, on a stool or on something, so that they can feel stable. Other children prefer the little potty. It just kind of depends what your what your child feels comfortable with. You go to the next slide.
Yeah, and I like what you said, Justine, about even if like just putting the potty into the daily routine, like we're going to go after this every day or before that. And sometimes you'll hear children say, but I don't have to go potty. Language that I like to use with kids a lot is like we give the gas tank metaphor, like just put it on E. You know, even if you just have a little bit in, just go and try and put it on empty. And you can really use that like official language, like you're going to empty your bladder now. So, and one of the times, you know, we do go to the bathroom is after meal times here at school. And meal times, you know, they're going to look different at school than they are at home. In the home setting, children are going to maybe eating together as a family at the same time every night. Maybe they're going to have alternate schedules where people are eating at different times, or maybe there's not a place in the home for them to eat, so they're eating on the sofa or wherever they need to be. So you're going to be, you know, it's going to look different at school than it is at home. And, you know, at school, things that you can start to practice that they're going to be doing is like drinking from an open mouth cup, using a spoon and a fork, sitting at the table, and using a napkin to clean themselves up. And those are all great things that you can have all those materials at the child's like height so they can access those. You don't have to set the table. Maybe you can have the child start to set the table. So if you're still trying to get them to practice holding the cup, maybe they carry the empty cup to the table. And then if something's full, you're helping them, and you see how they grow, and you can sort of adjust like, oh, they're ready to, you know, use two hands and carry the cup themselves. You just kind of monitor them, and just giving them little tasks. The littlest children don't know that you're giving them the simplest tasks to try and do. If they're two, you know, if you just tell them to stand up, they're so excited. If you ever played Simon Says with a child. So just thinking of how you can keep it simple to give them all those opportunities for success, to then give them the opportunity to praise them, and then you just build from there. Because if you're creating these environments where trying to gain independence is a negative thing for a child, they're not going to want to do it. And that's going to roll over into all the other like academic areas that we're going to be addressing in school as well. So a great thing to practice these, and again, practice all of this during play. And the pretend kitchen or a pretend picnic or a tea party is an awesome time to do all of those things and practice how you use table manners, or be silly at the table at certain times and not silly, or what things. And language that I really like to use, and this is really great for someone if your environment at home is different, and children really respond to like very consistent and clear language. I always say, in this classroom we sit while we eat. In this classroom we throw our meal away when we're finished. And so you can say that if they know it, their grandma's house, they do it one way. At aunt's house, they do it another way. In our house, we do it this way, you know. And if you're ever in a situation where it's different, I always like to root whatever I'm about to tell a child in the words right now. Right now, we are going to eat dinner on the carpet because we're having a pretend picnic. Or right now, we are going to have to brush our teeth first because dinner's running late or whatever the thing is. So I really just like using consistent language with children, and that again is something that's going to make things predictable for children. And when children know what's going to be happening, that really allows them to feel comfortable and secure, and that's going to open it up for them to do it on their own. And before you know it, they'll be saying the same things that you're saying as well. So yeah, and DCPS, I didn't really mention this. We do something called family style meals. So, and that's going to be an opportunity for children to have all the food in the center of the table, taking turns, sharing, passing, using, learning how to ask for things, and all those things. So that's if that's not how you're eating at home, that's okay, because when they're at school, we'll let them know in this school, we're going to eat this way. We're going to scoop our broccoli and then pass it to our next friend. And family style meals are great at DCPS because then it just offers an opportunity for us to talk about what's happening, narrate what the child is doing, and just sort of reflect on what's happened before or maybe what's coming up in the afternoon. And it's a great time to just reinforce like maybe a behavior or an independent thing that you noticed prior. Like, I really thought it was wonderful. Are you feeling proud of the way you zipped your jacket before the playground? Meal times are great, and family style really offers conversation for that. So I hope that sums it up. Next slide.
Another phrase we use is in our family.
Yeah.
Their phrases you used. Dressing is another activity that can lead to frustration, but it also is often something that children are really excited about. They get excited when they learn how to help dress themselves. And even though they won't be changing clothes a lot at school, they will be putting on coats, hats, gloves, all that stuff to go outside. The teachers will be there to help with the harder parts, the buttons or connecting the zipper, putting on and tying shoes. But children can be working on putting their own hats on, helping put their arms through the coat. Tips for dressing at home to help increase their independence and also make it a little bit more fun for them is giving choices within a certain boundary. So rather than just being like, what outfit do you want to wear? You can do, hey, would you like to wear this outfit or this outfit? That way, they're not showing up at school in a bathing suit because you didn't want to put up with the fight to get it back off. So giving choices that are things that you'd be okay with them going to school in or that are weather appropriate. You can also give choices as far as which item to put on first. Would you like to put your pants on or your shirt on first? Breaking the task up into pieces. The child tries to put their socks on and then you help with their shoes. The child puts their arms through the coat and then you help with the zipper. Again, that way you can cheer them on for each little bit. They can feel accomplished even if they're not able to do the full task yet. And then playing dress up is a really good way to work on the skills in a really fun and relaxed way. For whatever reason, my daughter would way rather go help put on her princess dress than put on her dress for school. So just getting to make it a little bit more fun and still throwing the skills in there. So again, they don't even realize they're working. Next.
Yeah, it's always good to make them sort of trick them and not know you're helping out, and that goes from getting dressed to mealtime to caring for the environment. No one likes to play and then continually always have a big mess around. So, one thing that children are going to be doing when they're at school and at home, you're always trying to help put your toys away. After clean, and I make that a game, and this is something people can do at their home. Again, if your child's not visual, verbal, they can definitely respond to visual. So one thing that we do is we put little pictures on top of like the toy bin. So this is a basket of dinosaurs, so they know the dinosaurs go in here, but then on the shelf there's a matching picture, so they know that, oh, I put the dinosaurs in this basket goes on the dinosaur picture. And that can be just simple, and you can handwrite those. You don't need, I laminate them so I don't have to do them year to year, but at home, just you can write, you can draw a picture, you can have the child give them a disposable camera and take it, so then they have a little bit more ownership over what they're cleaning up. So it makes it more of a game. And then, taking things in and out of the cubby is something that they're going to be doing here at school. We do have rest time, so they have blankets that they want to get ready. They're going to put those away. And I like if-then statements. If you put your blanket away, then you can go make a bucket choice. So you're always like sort of getting the carrot. And again, those visual schedules are great because no, you're at rest time and cleanup time. If you want to get to this, you do this first. Helping set up cot for rest time. And then some tips: have the system, teach the system. They're not going to, if I just put the dinosaurs out, they're not going to know that they go in there. So before we even put something new on the shelf, or if you've gone to the toy store, if you got a new gift from a family relative or a new book from the library, you're showing, oh, we got this new thing, this is where we're going to put it, or we're going to put it over here. And then they just sort of are understanding. And that's, again, where the patience is going to come in again, because they're not going to do it right the first time or maybe the fifth time. But, repeatedly being with stating the expectations and being patient is going to pay off in the long run, instead of just giving in and doing it for themselves, because you're not really setting them up for success. Again, start small, maybe just put, and I don't know about you, but you don't always have to like have so much stuff out. Always leaves the children wanting a little bit more. And so then if you do have like maybe a closet that has things that the child doesn't have access to, another way they can have independence is they can choose what they want to put out for the week, and then they can put it away at the end of the week. So you might, there's all sorts of systems that are available that if you have any questions, happy to talk more about that. But caring for the environment is really important in so many ways. And I always root it in, like, we want to make sure we have those things to use again, or for others. We do a lot of talk about like the community here at school. So if we're not caring for the environment, who is going to have to clean up after us? So encouraging them to be independent and not. So a lot of times, like, I don't want to, we have milk cartons, and they like to dump the milk in the trash can, and that the custodials don't really like having a box. So we always root it like, are you helping our Mr. Chico clean up later, and so they're not going to want to really clean up for me, but knowing that they're helping someone in our community really gives them ownership and independence in that way, that they're helping not just themselves or this classroom, they're helping a larger group. That was sort of a tangent from caring for the environment, but yeah, again, all these things sort of weave in together. So we're happy to talk about it. I could talk about it all night.
Okay, so one thing that we also want to consider is that supporting a child's independence is not just with the physical stuff. It's not just helping get dressed or caring for the environment, self-care, all of that. It also has to do with their social emotional abilities and their confidence in solving their own problems. Social emotional ability or development at their age includes enjoying relationships with caregivers, recognizing and naming emotions. This is a really hard one, but really important one to work on. And developing empathy and coping skills for, those big feelings or strong emotions, knowing what to do rather than falling out or hitting a friend, etc. So the problem solving has to do, it also has to do with not being able to do things independently. So what do I do if I can't open my snack or zip my coat or reach the paper towels? What if I spill something? Where do I put things? All of these fall under problem solving skills that we can help them develop. As parents, we often just want to jump in and save them. that love aspect that Nick talked about. Like, we do things because we love our children, but also because we love them, we need to help encourage independence. Otherwise, you're going to be cleaning up after them when they are much older, and it's not as cute then. So just kind of trying not to anticipate the needs or trying not to jump in immediately and help them, waiting for them to try to problem solve it or to ask for help if they really need it. Learning to problem solve helps children become confident and capable, helps them become more independent. So a few things that you can do when your child encounters a problem, encouraging them to try first. Okay, you go ahead and give it a try, and then if you still need help, I'll help you. Or like mentioned earlier, you work on your zipper for 1 minute, and then I'll come help you if you still need help. You can ask questions. What have you already tried? What could you do to solve the problem? What might help? Sometimes children will just sit there quietly and not say anything if they need help. They'll just kind of look at you. Other times they'll be screaming and crying and tantruming, and they're not really communicating with you about what the challenge is. So this goes back to, you might anticipate the challenge, but helping them communicate it is what's going to help them learn and grow. So giving word or names to it. You seem really frustrated with that shoe. If you need help, you can say, Mom, can you please help me put my shoe on? And it can even be shorter than that. You seem really frustrated with that shoe. Do you need help, please? Because we know not all children are at the same language level entering pre-K. And so just finding something that works for them. You can encourage them to ask other people. It could be a sibling, it could be a peer. It doesn't just have to be teacher or the parent or caregiver. And you can even kind of coach them in that. Have you tried asking your brother to help you open your snack? That way, next time they can be like, oh, Mama's busy doing something. Let me go ask my brother. And then brainstorming solutions together. What have you tried? Do you think it might help if X, Y, Z? Coaching them to come up with an answer themselves will then help them apply that to other things in life as well, rather than just giving them an answer right away. So again, helping them solve their own problems or knowing what to do when they need help will help them build their confidence, their self-esteem, and it's something they're going to need forever. So these are some things that you can support even at a really young age.
Thank you guys so much for giving all of that amazing information. The chat has been pretty quiet, so I want to remind everyone that if you've got questions, you can enter them into the chat. You can also feel free to unmute. And then we had several questions entered in the registration forms, and so Florence is going to pull some of those to ask you all as well.
Yes, feel free. And welcome everybody again. And thanks to the fantastic facilitators that we've had this evening. I think some of the questions that were entered earlier had to do with toilet, potty training and toilet learning, whatever it is that you want to call it. So that was covered. So I'm trying to look here. There were questions around transitions. Our child has a really difficult time with transitions, like to a babysitter or another family member. We're worried that the transition to school is going to come with major meltdowns at the door. Any suggestions about how to prepare them for the goodbye? Mr. K, I know you had a lot of great ideas around visuals and things that you do in the classroom. So I don't know if you wanted to take this one or, anyone in the group.
Yeah, no, transitions are really hard. I think one good thing we didn't really talk much about here is like making visuals that involve the child. So if you have like a child and you're nervous about their transition, go to when you're coming to like a meet and greet or before the school, take a picture of you like hugging the child at the door, like another caregiver, and then have a child take a picture of the child waving to you goodbye at the door, and then maybe a picture of the child walking in. And this could be staged, but then you can then print those out and create maybe a little social story that you can look at leading up to the transition. Like, oh, this is us saying goodbye. This is us, you walking in with your backpack, you know, because this year with COVID, parents haven't been coming to the classroom. So that is a hard thing to do, to let your barely 3-year-old walk down the hallway of a big elementary school, you know, but all your child's teachers are going to be smiling and happy to see them. And then, you know, include then the hello at the end of the day. So you have a whole like story that you get to read with your child that lets them know it's going to be hard, but you did it, and this is what it looks like. That's just one strategy with transitions. I love the visual schedule that's posted in our classroom, but then taking it around with me, like, oh, we're at recess, and when we get in from recess, we're going to have lunch, you know, so always having those things. Like, so if you know that they're going to be with a babysitter later that night, and that's going to be a different, you know, remind them in the morning, like, this is what we're doing, and then you're going to do that. Those are always good things that help with transitions, and just prepping them, I think sometimes is the best. You know, if you're nervous that and the timers come in handy, you know, let them know we have this much time until fill in the blank. It's always a good thing with transitions. I know, because I don't like transitions. I like it to be the same. So it
Right.
can,
Change is hard.
And especially if a child's wanting to play cleanup, you know, remind them that they're going to do that again tomorrow. Remind them how much fun they've had doing a certain activity, you know, and then go from there. But that transition, the biggest transition I feel most parents are going to be worried about is that dropping off at the door. And that is a hard transition. And just know that, so Nick and Justine have been doing this for many years. I've been doing this for a long time. You have a hard transition and the child's crying. It's really hard on the family. And then it's also very humorous sometimes to see then the child crying at the end of the day, not wanting to leave school. So just trust and believe. And, you know, there's lots of communication that teachers do with families, message boards, pictures of what's going on in the classrooms. So you kind of feel like you're there. And then you can talk to the child about what's going on and get them really excited to be in that environment. But it's temporary, you know, it's a really hard transition, but it's called a transition because it's not something that's permanent. So those first few weeks are going to be really difficult, but come November and December, it's going to be a very different scenario when you're dropping your kid off and picking them up. So it's like we said, this is not easy stuff. So I hope that answers or gives a little clarity, some strategies you can do. But I love a social story. Kids love looking at pictures of themselves, and they love seeing them succeed. So, you know, that's a good strategy.
Yeah, and on a related note, I think that there are families that are worried about their child not eating at school because they might be a picky eater at home, or you know, something like that, or they only, you know, they only have yogurt, or and they're not going to have yogurt every day at school or anything like that. So if anybody on the panel has ideas around that to help assuage those sorts of fears.
So I can jump in. We always encourage parents to pack a lunch for their child if they are a picky eater, just to ensure that you know your child is actually getting something to eat. And then also practicing kind of introducing foods at home, so that when it happens at school, that it feels more like a normal thing. But feel free to send snacks to school or send a packed lunch to school, and see if we can like transition your child into trying different foods. And that's where that family style, Mr. K was talking about, that family style setting really helps with that, because sometimes when they see other children trying food, then it might encourage them to try food. And even if it's just them scooping it and having it on their plate initially, that's a step in the right direction. So please do not worry, your child will not go hungry at school. But also just being able to be around other children and seeing what they're doing is sometimes a motivating within itself.
Yeah. And sometimes even just like not even wanting to smell the food. Like do those baby steps. Just smell the broccoli. Listen to the broccoli, you know. Look at the broccoli. You know, there's lots of
We also talk about, oh, can you give the broccoli a kiss? Like, there are a lot of ways to make it a little bit more fun in a really low pressure way.
Feed the broccoli to a doll, you know, and lots of other things.
Yeah, those are all great ideas. And actually, one of the participants, Karen, thank you so much, is saying that she's an educator and has been following Solid Starts on Instagram, and they have a ton of resources and guidance around picky eaters and allergies and things like that. So thank you for that, Karen. Drew, I think we're at time, right?
We are.
We covered a lot. This was fantastic. So we covered a lot of what the other questions were. So.
Yes, absolutely. We're at time, and I know that this is the time of the evening when many folks are getting ready for dinner and starting the whole routine into the evening. So for that reason, we'll go ahead and wrap up with just the next couple of slides. But I do want to let anybody know, if you have a question after we end this conversation, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We will get back to you, so you can enter it in the chat now and we'll follow up later, or you can reach out to us via email. I also want to remind everyone that if you have concerns about your child's development, or abilities, whether it's related to independence or any other area of development, you can always reach out to Strong Start. You can reach out to Early Stages or your child's pediatrician, whatever you're most comfortable with, and we'll make sure that everybody has access to these resources after the session as well. And then before you go, if you would be so kind, Florence is going to drop a attendee survey in the chat. Your feedback is so important to us. It helps us design the content of the session and lets us know, what you'd like to hear more of, how we can make these sessions better and to be the best use of your time. And so just by filling out the survey and letting us know your feedback, you're entered to win a bundle of children's books. And so each month we pick a family and send them a bundle of great children's books to have for their home library as well. So if you would take a couple minutes to do that would be greatly appreciated. There's more resources on our website, so visit readyforpk.org. And then lastly, I just wanted to do a quick plug for our session that's coming up in 2 weeks, Black Joy, Talking to Young Children About Race with Dr. Tracy Baxley. This is an affinity session for Black families. She's an amazing educator, mother, and author of the book Social Justice Parenting. She's doing a 3-part series for us, so check out and see which session might be right for you and your family. We had one a couple weeks ago and it was just fantastic. She's an amazing resource, so we hope to see you at an upcoming session as well. And lastly, if you were not able to join the full session this evening, it will be posted on YouTube for viewing later. So thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you to Mr. K and to Nick and Justine. I so appreciate your time and your expertise, and have a great night, everyone.